Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of light and secret knowledge wherever you may be, you are listening to Points of Light Radio, the podcast dedicated to taking you past the apron and behind the closed doors of lodges everywhere. And here is your host, Stan Miller.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. I really don't know how to describe what you're about to see here on Points of Light Radio this evening. I came across a group while doing my research for this podcast called the Rascals, Rogues and Rapscallions, right? And I had a long talk on the phone with one of their founding members, and and then we managed to set up a meeting, and I'm going to bring you that meeting here in a moment. But I've interviewed some fun organizations, some fun fraternal organizations here on Points of Light Radio before, but this one has some features that are a lot of fun and are very interesting to me, actually. So to give you a little background, some brief, the only thing I really knew about this organization going in is the Rascals, Rogues and Rapscallions are a fraternal organization founded on February 3rd, 1989. Their first meeting was at Harvey's Chelsea restaurant in New York City. The chapters meet in what they call lairs. And there are lairs from my research, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Roanoke, Virginia, and Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Now, here's the beautiful thing about it. Cigars are a regular part of Rascal, Rogue, and Rapscallion meetings. You're killing me. Okay. But I'm not even going to try to explain any further. I'm just going to let you see. I'm going to bring you the meeting I held with 4 of its members, unedited. So you're going to love this. It's going to be a lot of fun. But as I always ask you, are you still thirsty for knowledge? Are you still searching for the light? Then just trim your lamp and follow me. Gentlemen, welcome to Points of Light Radio. Why don't you tell us your names and a little bit about yourselves?
My name is Dan Morrison. I'm the pastor of a Presbyterian church outside of Philadelphia, and I have been involved with the Rascals, Rogues, and Rapscallions since 1989. And I'm currently the director of the lair in eastern Pennsylvania.
My name is Jordan Goretti. I am the church secretary at the church here outside Philadelphia. I've been part of Rascals, Rogues, and Rapscallions for a couple years now.
Let him in. I'm going to let him in. Hang on.
Oh, let him in.
Let's let him in. Let's let him
Why
in.
not?
Who do we have here? Who do we have here? I let him in. No, he's not in yet. So, that's fine. That's fine. Now tell us a little bit about the Rascals, Rogues, and Rapscallions.
Well, we're a men's club. We're a cigar-friendly men's club. We get together.
Oh, you're killing me.
We get together once a quarter over dinner, and at each of our meetings, there is some kind of presentation. 2 of the meetings each year, there'll be a presentation by an individual rascal presenting on some topic that he has been assigned. At the 3rd meeting of the year, each of the rascals gives a brief report on their latest extracurricular research. And then at the 4th meeting of the year, we have an open competition, which is called the Mass Challenge. There's one common challenge that's thrown out, and everybody takes a crack at it, and then there's a vote, and the top vote getter wins the John Landgraf Medal for that year.
Well, now I see Calvin joining us. Calvin.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Okay, there he is.
Wait, I'm here.
Calvin, okay, get up where we can see you, Calvin. Come on now.
And turn on your light.
Let your light so shine, Calvin. Come on now. Oh, there he is. There he is.
Still have you?
Calvin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Let's see. I'm one of maybe a half dozen second generation rascals.
No way.
Yeah, I got roped into it, I guess, at a pretty young age, but more officially was inducted when I became of age, so at 21. So I've been a member for 8 years now. I had an opportunity to participate in many a mass challenge. I did my my Rascal challenge was to learn how to manufacture and hand roll cigars. So that was my competition.
Okay, this is the second time someone's killing me.
Yeah, that was my my challenge. So once that was approved by the Rascals and I completed it, they took a vote and I have officially leveled up and become a rogue and have been languishing at that position ever since.
Okay, so now what are the qualifications to be a rascal, rogue, and rapscallion? What are the qualifications?
You must be a man. You must be 21 years old. I think that's it.
Okay. All right. And is there a degree system to the Rascals, Rogues, and Rapscallions, or
only
there are four. When you join the group, when you're elected into the group,
okay.
You come in as a postulate,
Okay.
and then in the first 2 years you have to compete in the mass challenges and in the research reports. If you do that, then you're bumped up to the level of rogue. I'm sorry, then you're bumped up to the level of rascal, and then you get your rascal challenge. Calvin was just talking about his rascal challenge, which was to make a Pennsylvania Puro cigar. If you successfully complete the rascal challenge, you go to the level of rogue,
Okay.
and at that point, you receive a rogue's challenge, which comes from the Order of Rapscallions. And if you successfully complete the rogue challenge, then you ascend to the highest level, which is a rapscallion.
Okay, let's break these challenges down. So a challenge can be what?
Talk to us about how the challenge works.
Yeah, I did my challenge last year in June. Mine was on called Moco Jumbi. There are these Afro-Caribbean stilt walker dancers. They were in Trinidad, was mainly where I focused my studies. But man, you're presented a challenge. There's like 3 different challenges that you pick from. Pick the one that you want to do.
Okay.
And then you prepare for the challenge. So you're going to present on something, or you're going to, like Calvin did, he made the Puro cigars, and you present on it for about a half hour, explaining what you went through, how you got to the end process, what you've researched, the different things that you learned, and really finding the interesting thing in what seems obscure. That's kind of the main focus of what we're doing, trying to find interesting.
All of the challenges are outside of a person's professional area, so you're always being forced to learn about something that you don't know anything about. Oftentimes, the challenge is you use the word obscure, but just like something that seems very, very inconsequential. Some of the challenges in the past have just been random latitudes and longitudes. Go to that spot and bring back a good story. When I did my Rascal challenge, I was just given a random date and had to bring back a story from that date. And and I found a man in Brooklyn who had patented a gas-fired cigar lighter on that date. And so, I spent half a year researching his life and chasing him down in the Smithsonian Institution and, out in the parts of Brooklyn where he had lived. I think the principle is that if you look closely enough at things, you can discover something interesting where other people would not think there's anything interesting.
Exactly. Now, you talked about awards. What sort of special awards do the Rascals, Rogues, and Rapscallions give out, and how do you deem a person worthy, shall we say? Like, exactly do we do that?
That's a good one.
Calvin, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I think we mentioned before we have our yearly mass challenge, as in anyone can compete. Even non-Rascals are allowed to compete in the mass challenge. And the winner, which is voted on by the attendees, everyone gets sort of 5 minutes to present their entry into the competition, will win the John Landgraf medal. So that's the primary sort of award. In addition to your regular, what's that, regalia? When you're a Rascal, you also have. Am I right there, Dad?
Say that again.
I'll back it up. So we have the John Landgraf Award.
It's right here if you want us to take a look at it.
Yeah,
okay.
This is the John Landgraf Medal. It was named for the fellow who had designed our flag and had died at the age of 29. And at the first Rascals Ball, we had this made, and so now we award it every year.
A Rascals Ball.
Yeah, so that's the one function that family members and females are invited and encouraged to attend. That has spanned anything from a more formal dinner and dancing to a bowling ball at a bowling alley. So, with the Rascals, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. The Rascal Challenge could be something like tin can, and you got to go out and find something, right? And you got to come back with a story. So the other award would be the Buchanan. Is that the Buchanan Medal?
Yeah, the James Buchanan Medal,
which is the I think I'm the current holder of that. That's the inverse of the John Landgraf. You had the worst entry into the mass challenge, and so then you have to wear it for the whole year.
Calvin, do you have that? Do you have that medal handy?
Oh, man.
So what you have to understand is that James Buchanan, is famous for being the worst American president, and he's hated by both North and South. He was the president who led into the American Civil War, and both sides hated him. But he is our Pennsylvania president, and so we have a award in his name, and it is for the person whose entry was deemed to be the worst.
Okay,
here we go. So I have to wear.
And you may recognize the collar on this. Stand up a little bit. Yeah, there it is. See that's the medal.
Okay.
And then it's suspended from a Oddfellows collar, actually.
Yeah, we did steal that one.
Hold that up again.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Let's zoom in here. Let's have a look.
Not required to wear this right now.
That's fine. Okay.
It's a pretty big dong. I mean, the thing weighs like a half a pound.
Yeah, the reference size is quite large. So I don't know.
So and then there's also the
Rascal of the Year.
Rascal of the Year.
Yep. So at the Rascal Ball, the Rascal of the Year is elected. And that's sort of just there's no competition for it. It's who's ever deserving.
Yeah, whoever's contributed the most to the life of the Rascals. The Rascal of the Year trophy is called the Ark of the Humidor, and it's a reproduction of the Ark of the Covenant, but it's a humidor.
I like it. I like it. Well, how many lairs do you have?
Well, so we have 3 lairs. We're the only one that's been left standing. So the original lair was in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And then I was living in Pittsburgh at that time, and then moved to Eastern Pennsylvania near Philadelphia. And I was going back to Pittsburgh for the meetings, and at some point I'm like, this is crazy. Let me start a lair, in Eastern Pennsylvania. And so a neighbor joined me, and we started lair number. That's lair number 3, and we started it in the year 2000. There was a lair number 2 that was started in Roanoke, Virginia. All of the fellows who were part of that lair were faculty at a college in Roanoke. And then as their careers moved on, they dispersed. And so now we call it the lost lair of Roanoke.
Okay.
And lair number 4 is in the process of being formed right now in Fort Worth, Texas. So we have 2 fellows who are members of our current lair here in Pennsylvania. They fly in and they participate, but they're in the process of gathering together a group of men there in Texas to start lair number 4.
Okay, so where do they meet then? Do you have a proper lodge, or do you rent space from somebody, or?
Yeah, so it's really hard to find a place that's cigar friendly, as you can imagine. So through the years, we've met at different places. When we first started, restaurants in the United States still allowed you to smoke, and one of them would have a room. And so in Pittsburgh, they always met at a restaurant. Here, we have met at the Moose Lodge.
Okay.
We've met in a barn at my church. We have also met and we currently meet at what's called the Menor Court Society. So there's an old German singing society in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and they've got an upper room that they let us meet in.
An upper room, how about that, eh? Those apostles.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what they were doing in the upper room, but
Don't know.
How long are the meetings, by the way?
From like 6:30 till 10:30, something like that.
Woo. Wow.
Till you run out of cigars.
And you guys do smoke cigars at these meetings, so now you're killing me. What kinds of cigars seem to go over the best with Rocky Patel's?
What do you smoke?
What do I smoke?
I'm the resident. I'm actually the resident keeper of the humidor, and it's my elected position. It's my job to furnish rascals who have forgotten cigars.
Okay, so it's a bring your own cigar for the most part, right?
Now you can bring your own cigar. It's my elected position is to show up and have cigars ready if someone wants to buy one, right?
Okay.
And so for the most part, I find that the Ashton and La Roma de Cubas are highly popular. Those are sort of perennials. The Dom Pepin Blue Label, also kind of a perennial. And then more recently, My Father, La Bijou 1812.
Oh, yes. Okay.
The box presses. And that was the cigar of the year in like 2013. It's an absolutely fantastic cigar.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, now, are there any plans for, put it this way, do you have any lairs outside the USA, and is there any plans for expansion?
So, it's interesting. When the group started, the Constitution always imagined that the lairs would be multiplying, and that new lairs would be starting. So it's built into the structure. So there is a body called the Ephorate, which oversees all the lairs, and so that's built into the structure. What we have discovered is that there are a lot of people who are interested in our organization, They like to come, but it's far more challenging to actually be in the organization. So there's a difference between a man who's interested and a man who's interesting.
Yeah.
And the only kind of people who thrive in the group are really the ones who are interesting. So it has been. We periodically get inquiries from different places of people who are interested in doing things. It looks like the Texas lair is definitely going to come to fruition, but that will only be lair number 4 at this point.
I do know here in Canada, at least where I live, the anti-smoking laws would, and the expense of the cigars as well, because our cigars are taxed a lot more. It would be very hard to set up one in Canada. There are places like in Ontario that allow smoking patios, but here it's very hard. Yeah,
you would have to do it at in Montreal. There's a cigar parlor that also serves alcohol. Now maybe you could get the food catered, but it would be a stretch for sure. But the issue is not the expense, it's the work you have to put in to become a rascal.
exactly.
Right? So anyone can sign up, anyone can come to the meeting and pay and have dinner and have a good time. Postulates get assigned a serious task, research or whatever it is. It's not always research. And then there's even fewer people who've ever completed the rogue challenge. I think we only have 2 or 3 people. And those are Herculean tasks. I'm not sure that, well, at least when I was growing up, and into the recent years, sort of the joke is that there aren't any rapscallions because it was such a challenge, right? And so now we have 2 people who have finally completed the tasks. So, hopefully we'll get several more rapscallions. But then you have additionally you have your yearly mass challenge in which you're competing on a specific topic against other rascals, and then you're sort of expected to bring and have an informal presentation during the research reports meeting, where you show up and you talk about, and this may be more related to your kind of worker interests. Unlike your challenges are always orthogonal to what you know. You may say you're interested in writing, so we're not going to do anything about that. Something we think you might be good at, but it's not going to be, writing. So
that's really interesting.
So just to give you a little clue here, so at our last meeting in March, we had a rogue challenge presentation, only the second one in history. And the fellow his challenge was to get a beer named Rascals, Rogues, and Rapscallions to be sold in 4 bars. So the fellow who took on that challenge is a patent attorney lawyer for Johnson & Johnson, and he retired, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago. And in his retirement, he started a craft brewery to complete this challenge. Okay, so he's a $500,000 into this thing, and last month he completed it, and so now Rascals, Rogues, and Rapscallion beer is for sale here in Pennsylvania, and so he finally completed the challenge. But it was a years long process. I think number 3, though, Calvin, is going to happen very soon. Hayes Lewis, who's the leader of the group in Texas, he's hot on the trail. He's an IT security specialist for the federal government, and he flies in for his meetings here into Pennsylvania. But he is a rogue, and he's working on a rogue challenge. His challenge, the challenge is worded something like this: learn a language that is spoken by fewer than 500,000 people, write 12 sonnets in that language, and get it published in the national capital closest to the center of the population that traditionally speaks that language.
So it's designed to, and that one predates Hayes even involved.
It's ancient. It's an ancient one, right? That's been around for a long time. And he, the last time I talked to him, his vocabulary, he has 1,500 word vocabulary in Maori so far.
Wow.
And so he's looking forward to publishing a book of poems in Maori, I guess in New Zealand someplace. So
okay,
he's working hard on it.
This is amazing. Yeah. So I guess the one final question, well, questions that I have for you, I'll combine it. What drew you to the Rascals, Rogues, and Rapscallions, and what has it done for you? One at a time. Go ahead, gentlemen.
You start, because
Yeah.
you're the most. This is our most recent member who's in this conversation.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. So what drew me to it was it's just pure fun to me. I mean, it to find the interesting thing and things that seem kind of bland or obscure or whatever. It's delightful. It really opens up your world. It forces you to be creative and really stretch yourself. So those are kind of my favorite parts of it, and just the fellowship together, having a drink and a smoke and whatever while we're doing these crazy things. It's just too much fun.
Yeah. What's your take on it, Calvin?
I think the appeal is, well, at least for me, once you reach adulthood, people get pulled into their own directions or focused on their careers, family. Every one of these Rascals presentations is, it's like a Eagle Scout project, except way more fun and interesting. And we're not building benches for the homeless. We're digging into cool stuff. Not to downplay the benches, but you show up and you're going to have like conversation with people who are your intellectual peers about something you knew nothing about. And almost always my favorite part of any Rascal meeting is actually after the presentation. Typically we have sort of informal discussion or maybe like questions for the presenter, and the topics that get generated out of that and spun out of that, it's not often you have a presentation that nobody's heard something about it. More often than not, someone will jump in with a tidbit that the presenter didn't even know. So I find that to be interesting. And I think it's I think it keeps you on your toes. Any Rascal can be called up to do another presentation. Once you become a Rascal, you're not done. If we need a slot to fill, maybe I'll be presenting next year. I don't know. And, it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you busy, kind of digging into interesting things, rather than sort of, rote routine. And that's my take on it.
Stan, for me, the attraction. So, I mean, I started being involved with the group in 1989.
Wow.
And, so I was a graduate student living in Manhattan. We all had girlfriends. Our social life was always mixed couples going out and stuff like that. And at least at that time, there wasn't a place that men just got together.
A guy's night out.
There wasn't, and I mean, there was the men's movement was beginning to happen, these kind of drum circle guys who go out in the woods and paint themselves and stuff. And so for me, it's always been an opportunity to just like leave the women at home.
Exactly.
And let's get together with just a bunch of guys. Actually, in the early days of the group, we had this problem that some of the guys just didn't believe that it was men's only, and they would like drag along a girlfriend.
Oh.
And we would have to like send them away. It's like, no, this is just the guys. So for me, it's been good to just be with these guys and hang out. I think the conversations are different with just men. The other thing too is, now I've been involved for such a long time that the group here in Eastern Pennsylvania, I've been involved with for 20 years. Like, so I've known these guys, like I've seen them go from mid-career to retirement. Calvin is one of the second generation. There are other second generation guys in our group. So like their sons are coming into it. And so for me, a lot of it is just being around a bunch of other men. and not having to make an excuse for that.
That's wonderful. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate your time tonight, and all the best to every one of you and the Rascals, Rogues, and Rapscallions.
Thank you, brother. It's good to talk to you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Have a good night. Well, there you have it, brothers and sisters. Pastor Morrison and his son, as well as Jordan there, they just introduced you to the Rascals, Rogues, and Rapscallions. Have you ever heard of them before? Now you have, and that's what Points of Light Radio is here to do. Let's raise the profile, especially this outfit. This was a lot of fun, and I'm not going to edit it. You notice I haven't edited this particular segment. I've just broadcast it as it was done, right? Because that's part of the fun of this group. Let's just have them on board here. And it's interesting to see how the Rascals, Rogues, and Rapscallions run in the Morrison family. We know that many of the other mainstream fraternities have membership running in their family. It's great to see that this organization now has members that, whose parents and people have been in before, and that's great. It's great to see that the Rascals, Rogues, and Rapscallions is actually growing and interest is picking up in it, because I think that's a good part of it. They're getting new members. You can see that there today, and starting up another a lair in Texas. That's wonderful. And here's an example. There again, you've heard me say this on Points of Light Radio before. Here's an example of how the easy thing to do when thinking about joining a fraternal order is to go straight to one of the larger ones and join. But here's an order that, well, it can and it can't consume a lot of your time. And it sounds like their meetings are not only fun, a lot of fun actually, and interesting, right? It's something you need to ask yourself before you join up. What do you want to? And this is a great example. You can, like I said, you can have a lot of fun, a tremendous amount of fun. It's still very interesting. And wow, they smoke cigars at their meetings. We definitely have to bring this organization north. Right? And I definitely will revisit these guys. I really will. I definitely will be revisiting the Rascals, Rogues, and Rapscallions, and we'll definitely have to touch base with that the lair they're building in Texas as well. Help them out a little bit, right? But unfortunately, that's all the time I have for this particular segment, brothers and sisters. But as always, before I go, I want to remind you that this podcast is available on both YouTube and Spreaker. Please share, like, and subscribe when viewing Points of Light Radio on YouTube. And I also welcome your comments and input, especially this particular segment. I better see some comments and input in the details section, right? I want to draw your attention as well to some of the following things. First of all, I'm going to put a link to the Rascals, Rogues, and Rapscallions in the details section of this podcast. And you can also see the link to my Facebook page at facebook.com/Points of Light Radio. You can see the link to my Twitter handle at PO Light Radio. You can see the link to my Spotify channel, as well as my Points of Light Radio store. Brothers and sisters, until we meet again, just step into the light.